If you're a fan of incredible survival stories, then you need to hear this. And before we dive in, if you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. And make sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Beaverhead County, Montana. Territory October of 1881. While every other settler was racing against the first snow to raise timber-framed cabins, Lars Ericson grabbed a pickaxe and began digging into a hillside. Neighbors whispered about madness. A grave for his family, muttered the seasoned builder Thomas Bradley. But what they dismissed as eccentricity was centuries of survival wisdom disguised as a simple hillside. Ericson was relying on a principle that American frontier builders had overlooked entirely. The earth itself could act as both insulation and thermal battery. And in the months to come, that insight would save his family from winters that had brought seasoned pioneers to their knees. He understood that the earth is a silent ally in winter survival. What made Lars Ericson different wasn't ingenuity in isolation. It was knowledge passed down from generations of Norwegians who had survived in far harsher climates than Montana. He didn't fight the cold with fire alone. He let the earth do the work. By excavating 16 feet into the hillside, he placed his family in a consistent thermal envelope. The surrounding clay and packed soil maintained a constant temperature of roughly 52 degrees Fahrenheit. To his neighbors, who measured warmth in roaring fireplaces, this seemed useless. But Lars knew the truth. Raising the temperature from 52 to 68 degrees required far less energy than fighting a -40-degree blizzard outside. Every log and cord of wood he saved was a direct result of respecting the thermal mass of the earth, a concept modern survivalists recognize today, but which frontier Montana had largely ignored. The orientation and design of the tunnel mattered as much as its depth. Lars didn't dig blindly. The entrance faced southeast, capturing the low winter sun while shielding the living chamber from the brutal northwest winds descending from the surrounding peaks. He engineered a sandstone foundation to create a thermal break and recessed the doorway to form a small vestibule, trapping cold air before it could reach the interior. Inside, the living chamber opened to 12 by 14 feet with an 8-foot ceiling. Sleeping alcoves carved into the clay walls were raised and insulated with straw, functioning as microthermal chambers that maximized heat retention from body warmth alone. His corner stove wasn't large. It didn't need to be. Lars understood that the stove's role was to nudge the interior temperature, not wage war against the sub-zero elements. Moisture and ventilation were problems his neighbors thought unsolvable. Frontier builders assumed that a damp earth home would become uninhabitable in the dead of winter. Lars countered this with a ventilation shaft bored at a 70-degree angle through the hillside peak. This created a natural convection current. Warm air rose, moved across the ceiling, cooled slightly, and descended along the walls before escaping through the shaft. Condensation was carried away before it could damage the clay. The result was dry, breathable air, even during the coldest snap of January 1882. When the thermometer outside plunged to -42 degrees Fahrenheit, the Ericson's tunnel home remained a comfortable 64 degrees in the main chamber, and sleeping alcoves reach 67 degrees, all with less than 1.5 cords of wood consumed over 3 months. Families in conventional cabins burned through 10 to 12 times that amount, feeding fires around the clock and still struggling to stay warm. This was not primitive construction. It was ancient engineering refined by experience. Lars Ericson's tunnel home drew on techniques that had sustained families across Norway, Iceland, and even parts of Asia for centuries. The principles of earth sheltering had been proven by turf houses in Finnmark, semi-subterranean dwellings in China's plateau regions, and Native American pit houses in the southwest. Each example relied on passive thermal mass earth insulation and controlled ventilation to survive extreme temperatures. What Lars did was transplant that knowledge into the Montana Territory, a harsh environment where conventional frontier wisdom would have failed spectacularly. His neighbours' skepticism wasn't just cultural bias. It was a lack of exposure to proven methods from other lands. The legacy of understanding traditional wisdom is, well, survival itself. By the year 1885, what had once been dismissed as just a dire hole had actually become a blueprint for frontier survival. 14 families had gone on to replicate earth-sheltered dwellings, and records show fuel efficiency improvements of 650 to 820% compared to conventional cabins. But the lesson transcended construction. It was a lesson in humility. You know, modern survivalists and history enthusiasts alike can learn from Ericson's story. Survival isn't about reinventing the wheel. It's about recognizing that centuries of human experience, even from distant climates and foreign lands, can actually hold the key to thriving in conditions that seem insurmountable. Ignoring that knowledge can be fatal. Embracing it can save lives. Lars Ericson's tunnel home stood for over 40 years, proving that a deep understanding of thermal mass earth insulation and passive ventilation could really outperform conventional wisdom in the harshest conditions. It wasn't innovation for the sake of novelty. It was survival grounded in science and tradition. If you found this story valuable, hit that like button and subscribe to the Warfront Survival channel. And don't forget to share it with your fellow history enthusiasts and survivalists. Dive into the comments and tell us where you're watching from and what ancient survival techniques exist in your region. By preserving this knowledge and sharing it, we honour the ingenuity of pioneers like Lars Ericson while keeping practical, life-saving wisdom alive for the next generation.